We can't completely withdraw because that coalition that supports the Karzai government right now, primarily composed of Northerners and Westerners and folks in the urban areas. If we were to leave, there would be a huge crisis. That coalition would probably fragment and break, and then the country would be back into complete chaos. Okay. Right now, only parts of the country are in chaos. If we left, because I like to say, if Afghanistan's a house of cards, we're not like that one card holding it up. We're that entire card table. Okay. So you remove that. I mean, we've pumped $50 billion in development assistance into that country, or into a country with a GDP of $14 billion, or a country that's not even $2 billion in revenue a year, and this year we're going to spend about $10 billion in development assistance there. Okay, so we can't just pull out because we're so entangled in it that it would be complete chaos. But we can get out of those areas where our presence fuels insurgency. Next one is to keep our focus on or devote our focus on Al-Qaeda. Again, where we see ourselves as Al-Qaeda hawks, go after them as they exist, not as it makes good political sense for certain politicians. Okay. The fourth one is redo our economic development. Like I said, we've spent over $50 billion there. We'll spend an additional 10 this year at least. And you can't show me one place in Afghanistan where that money has achieved United States government political objectives. That's the purpose of our foreign aid. It's not to make people's lives better. That's a nice side effect of it, but our foreign assistance is done to further U.S. government objectives. You can't show me one place in Afghanistan where spending of money has lessened the violence, has increased support for the government, or has decreased support for the Taliban. What you see is exactly the opposite. The money has an incredibly corrupting influence. Not only are we propping up the Hatfields, we're making them rich. Okay, and so the McCoys are really upset now. All right, so our thing is and plus that second side effect, okay, is not occurring. Okay, life expectancy in Afghanistan is still 43 or 44 years of age. 1 in 5 children still die before their 5th birthday. There are all these stories about how, they're apocryphal. I'm not sure how true they are, but there's stories that, like in certain parts of Afghanistan, a child doesn't get their name until they're 3 or 4 years old because why are you going to name something that's got a good chance of dying? Okay, in America, a family loses a child, it's the worst tragedy that could ever befall them. In Afghanistan, it's a rite of passage. I mean, so that $51 billion has really not done much to change that. Again, if you're wealthy enough to have multiple wives, you do it. Not just because it's tradition, it's what your culture does. It's because, there's a really good chance one of your wives might die in childbirth. And so it's better to have 2 or 3 than 1. I mean, it's a practical issue. So redo our economic development. We have some ideas on that, but mainly it's get it out of the hands of the military, get it out of the hands of USAID, put it into the hands of NGOs and IOs that have developed best practices over the years that tend to be doing things more for humanitarian effect and that have a non-political purpose there. And the last one was, as I spoke about earlier, about regional settlement. If you don't bring Afghanistan's neighbors to the table, if you don't get them to agree on neutrality, if you don't get them to signal a willingness not to interfere in Afghanistan's internal affairs, everything I've said is all for naught. Okay, and that's the biggest challenge we have. I don't think we have the diplomatic capability to do it. We certainly don't have the mandate to do it. Could you imagine what would happen in the halls of our Congress if we went into a dialogue with Iran about Afghanistan? Okay, the freaking out that would occur. So those are our recommendations. Again, you can find them in our report on our website, and then also too, when we put this report out last year, we were the first organization to do something like this. Okay, and what it did was it allowed other organizations to step forward. Okay, and this is the segue, and now you see Council on Foreign Relations, Center for New American Security, Center for American Progress, International Institute of Strategic Studies, etc., have all put out similar reports that are, plus or minus 10,000 troops, or plus or minus 6 months, or 12 months this way or that way, but 80% in commonality with what we're saying. Okay, and so what the importance of this is what we're looking for in Congress is those first House members and Senate leaders to step forward who aren't the usual suspects. Okay? Right now I work quite a bit with Jim McGovern from Massachusetts and Walter Jones from North Carolina. Okay? progressive on one side, libertarian on the other. It's like this unholy alliance or unity. They've wrapped back around. It meant, you know, I mean, so. But you know, and then a bunch of others. We have about 14 or 15 members of Congress who are really good in this issue, but they're the usual suspects. Ron Paul, okay. I say Barbara Lee, and people's eyes just roll to the back of their head. Oh, of course, Barbara Lee. You know, you get Jim Moran, you get Lynn Woolsey, you get Duncan out of California, Jim Duncan out of California, a bunch of others, but all progressive libertarian, usual suspects. Can't get anyone who's a regular Democrat or a regular Republican to talk about this issue. Just, you can't.
Why,
well, I mean, here's, so, and then I'll talk about the Senate real quick, then I'll get back to your question. On the Senate side, Russ Feingold's gone.
Yes, yes.
Excuse me. Russ Feingold's gone. We have no leadership in the Senate on this issue. Jeff Merkley from Washington is our best guy on it, but Senator Merkley is, he's not on foreign affairs, he's not on armed services, he's not on intelligence, he's a domestic guy. He's also progressive from Washington State. People roll their eyes. Okay. The only people in the Senate who, well, they just had a bunch of senators went and did so this is a little, you know, but up to 2 days ago, the only people who were speaking about Afghanistan publicly and on MSNBC or CNN or Fox were Lindsey Graham and John McCain. Okay, both, I mean, in no disrespect to both those gentlemen, but they truly are mouthpieces for General Petraeus. They really are. So here's the thing. Polling from CNN December said that 60% of the American public opposed the war. On a straight question of do you favor or oppose the U.S. presence in Afghanistan, 60% said oppose. We looked at the data and we said, for Tea Party and conservative types, it was 52 or 53% in favor of our presence. And we said, that makes no sense. These are the people who came to Washington, or who put people in Washington, for fiscal austerity, to get some type of fiscal sense back. And here we are spending $119 billion in a country with a GDP of $14 billion and having no effect on Al-Qaeda. So we did our own poll, okay? And I mean, people accuse us of us loading the question. I think it's fair. But no, what we said is putting it in context. We said, knowing that the U.S. will spend $119 billion in Afghanistan in FY 2011, do you favor the continuance of the U.S. policy as is now? Do you favor a reduction of troops? Or do you favor immediate withdrawal? And on conservative and Tea Party members, we found 67% said either withdraw or reduce troops, by introducing that one fact of $119 billion. On the other side of the issue, for independents, moderates, Democrats, progressive, liberals, it's off the charts. I mean, some of the numbers hit 90% in terms of, you know, get out or withdraw troops. Problem is, no one's calling Congress on this. You know, no one is picking up the phone. No one's going to see their congressman on it. I work with Jim McGovern and Walter Jones every week. And every week they say the same thing. They say, we can't get anybody to talk about this issue. They'll all say privately. I've had members of Congress say privately to me, I agree with you, this is nuts. But I don't have any constituents calling my office. No one voted on this in the 2010 midterms. The percentage of the American public that said Afghanistan should be a priority for the 112th Congress, you know what percent? 2%. 2%, exactly. I wish I should bring stuff to throw at the crowd. But you know, I mean, but yeah, 2%. Same number that said education should be a priority for our country. And we all know how long education's been screwed up.